You got to have a sense of spirituality in my company. I really want them to learn to meditate, to quiet their brains, because there's so many things going on with them at the same time that if they don't, they won't be able to handle that.
If you've outgrown your current path, this is your invitation to step out of the hustle and into your purpose and passion. It can be healing, it can be fun, and it can be strategic. This is where you become the boss goddess in your niche and bring your dreams to life. If you are ready to say yes to redefining what is next for you with podcasting, then I want to invite you to get my Activate Your Passion with Podcast Blueprint. Just go to boss-goddess.co/activate. This is your free 5-day guide where each day I'll send you an email with guidance and a downloadable prompt, exercise, or tool that you can take some action with to begin to get clear on how to pursue what lights you up with the power of podcasting, from how to get started with your topic to how to build your own ecosystem that you can monetize later. Let's redefine what comes next for you so you can step into your goddess era. Just go to boss-goddess.co/activate. Hi, welcome back to the Boss Goddess podcast, or if this is your first time joining us, welcome. I'm Barcy, your host. And if you do enjoy today's episode, the best way to continue to tune in is to actually follow the podcast on your favorite listening app like Apple Podcast or Spotify. And then let me know what you think by leaving a review or a comment. And in Spotify, you can actually leave a comment and I can actually get back to you underneath the episode. So that's just a really fun feature they've added. So I would love to hear what you think. And now I have a question for you. Have you ever found yourself at a point in life where you had to make a decision, but the direction to choose feels really unclear or confusing? In fact, I was just talking with a friend about this last weekend because she has found herself in this position recently and wasn't sure how to decide on what to do. I feel like I face this kind of decision on a daily basis as a business owner, but here's a little more context of what I mean. The type of decision I'm talking about is the kind that often promises something that you feel you really need or want, but something about that feels off or just unclear. And I say unclear or off because sometimes you're very aware that the thing that you're thinking about does include some stuff that might feel hard if you choose it or a little out of alignment. And sometimes we can't really identify that. So the decision just feels unclear. So it's either feeling a little off and you can kind of point to that, or the whole thing just feels unclear and you're not sure why this decision is hard. So for my friend, we broke it down like this. I shared with her a personal story where I was faced with a decision like this, and what helped me finally choose what felt aligned with my growth, my evolution, and where I'm going is understanding that very thing first, just trying to get to that place where is it going to do that for me? So I was holding on to a very old version of myself that has outgrown the other decision, the one that would have taken me in a different direction away from my new growth. But I knew it would bring me more money, right? Oftentimes there's something like that we really need: more time, more energy, more money, something really basic. Money's one of those, things that helps us stay in our scarcity if we are feeling like we absolutely need it, right? But it would also bring me more misery and I would lose more time because I would keep choosing in this way, right? I keep choosing based on what I think I really need. And I think this is the only way I can get it, right? Versus the other version that I haven't walked this path yet because it's new growth. It's a new version of myself. It's a new trust I'm developing. And that feels really scary because the path hasn't been paved yet. But the one I'm really familiar with, I already know how to do that, but it's not going to help my growth. It's not in alignment with who I am anymore. And I know that it's probably a little painful. In fact, it'll keep me stuck, right? But that's hard to see sometimes because the things that are familiar to us are familiar for a reason because we keep doing it. We keep doing those things. So sometimes we find ourselves in this place of like, which one is it? And it feels confusing because it really is asking you to grow. So when I finally broke it down for my friend, we broke it down to fear and scarcity motivated choices versus one where we need to trust ourselves and the growth that we've created. And I could finally see for me in the example I was sharing with her that I kept stopping myself in making the new decision. So I'd lost time essentially because I was aware I was at this decision-making crossroads more than once, and I kept choosing the familiar path for a while. And I finally kind of broke free from that, at least for now. It's interesting how life will keep presenting the decision-making moment for you and asking you to choose. Not all decisions are at this big, what feels like this big crux, this big crossroad moment, but even the smaller decisions sometimes can guide us in this way, whether it's scarcity, fear, familiarity, pain that we're familiar with, paths that we've paved, or an opportunity to grow and try something new and explore and step out of our comfort zone and trust that what we need will be provided and found and figured out, right? So I attribute my level of awareness around this finally choosing differently to my intuitive practice. And one of the ways I cultivate that is with meditation. And my guest today is a business owner and a founder and CEO who navigates her decision-making intuitively as well, and not just leverages meditation for herself, but she cultivates it as a practice with her team. And she shares how, in this episode, how she creates subconscious suggestions to connect with presence and those you love and yourself in the ways that she designs staging for homes positioned to sell. That's what she does. She's a home stager for like real estate. And she creates spaces to kind of suggest connection and meditation. It's so cool. Her name is Samantha Senia. She's also a podcaster, by the way. She co-hosts a podcast called The Power of We with her daughter, Nicole Senia. But here's a little bit more about Samantha. Samantha Senia is a visionary entrepreneur with an innate talent for aesthetics and design. Her journey began in fashion, launching a successful purse and jewelry business before transitioning her passion for design into the world of luxury real estate. As a female-owned company, she leads a team of highly skilled stylists who specialize in making a house feel like a home, curating spaces that captivate buyers and maximize value. Her passion for empowerment and leadership extends to her podcast, Power of We, which she co-hosts, like I said, with her daughter, Nicole Senia, sharing insights on entrepreneurship, design, and the power of collaboration. I had such a wonderful time holding space for Samantha's story. She's so full of love and she's such an inspiration. So also be sure to listen until the end to hear Samantha's advice on how you can work with fear that comes up during these big decision-making moments or even the small decision-making moments. Okay, here is my conversation with Samantha Senia. So welcome, Samantha.
Hello. Thank you so much for having me on.
I'm so happy to have you here. You have a very inspiring and empowering story, and we're going to dive into that right now, actually, if you don't mind. So,
Yeah, no problem. I just jumped off my own podcast, so I'm ready to go. Let's do this.
amazing. Well, since you brought up your podcast, why don't you just tell us the name of it real quick?
It's called The Power of We Official.
And don't you host that with your daughter?
Yeah, so I host that with my daughter, Nicole Senia. And we started about 5 years ago. Actually, it's 5 years ago in the pandemic. And
Wow.
we started because a producer came to me and said, we wanted to talk to you guys and we want to hear about your story. And so we had this meeting. And on the way to the meeting, this is how you know when you're really in tune with your intuition. Nicole and I looked at each other and she's like, I feel like our life's about to change. Isn't that crazy? I can cry.
I
Yeah.
love that.
And it did that day.
So, okay, so now we have to talk about that. So, what? So
Yeah.
you obviously said yes, and you have a podcast now, but what was like the biggest change that you experienced since you said that it really did change your life?
I don't know if you are aware, but I'm sober, my kids are sober. And basically, we had gone through a lot. I was always an entrepreneur. I got divorced in 2008, and I had to start a business to sustain my life. So when the pandemic hit, I kind of have to tell you, when the pandemic hit, I had a partner at the time. She was like, hell no, I'm out. I'm moving to Miami. And I had to make a decision, stay or not know what to do. And my business manager said, you're essential. So I started staging during the pandemic. And when I was staging, I realized that I wanted to start a store, which is my other business, which is elitemaison.com. And I asked one of my friends, Christine Devine from Channel 11 News. I don't know if you know her. I'm like, I'm looking for a publicist. Help me. I was asking everyone. So she referred me to this beautiful lady, Lori Muslow, and I called her and I was pitching her about the store, and I was like, I really want to get it out. Well, sometimes in life, when you think you're doing one thing, other things happen, right?
Yes.
So I ended up talking to her and telling her my whole story. And she said, I'd love to have lunch with you and your daughter. When can you meet me?
Okay.
And so that's how it started.
And that's how the podcast started? Or,
Yeah.
oh, okay.
So I went and met with her. She does a lot for Hollywood. She was on KTLA. So she was basically helping, she wanted me to start a podcast on our story. And so our
Mm.
first guest was Flavor Flav because he was getting sober in his
Wow.
60s. And so listen, we didn't know what was going on, and we had to go meet her at the Bel Air Hotel with Flavor Flav and some of his people. And that was like, our life had already changed, right? We already
Yeah.
started going into Hollywood. But it was really important to Nicole and I that we talked about our story, so we could give back, so people don't feel ashamed. They don't feel scared and live in fear. Because a lot of us do that until we
Yeah.
don't anymore. And so, we talked about our story and then working together. We're a family business, and it's been an amazing ride. We've had amazing people on there, from all kinds of celebrities to health coaches to Tim Story to just incredible individuals that I really wouldn't get to speak to like this. And our listeners, they love it. They
Mm.
love, like, they send us questions, and it just is fun.
So they're really engaged, which is what
Yeah,
you
they
want.
love it. They love the mother daughter thing. This is a big thing for me. So, growing up, there was family businesses in my family, and a lot of fighting. A lot of people, like my brother and sister and their father, didn't speak for many years because of the business. And so
Oh.
I thought to myself, I didn't even think I was going to have my kids in my business, honestly. Nicole went to school for PR. And
Oh.
so during pandemic, I said, you two need to get in this warehouse and start working because you're not going to sit around the house. And they were like, okay. So they came, and then Nicole was still in college. And so
Mm.
she did that. She would left, went back, finished school for the last 6 months, and then came back. And it's been amazing. We're just like, it's so nice to work with your daughter and be able to teach her and show her. And she's really taken off. It's been an incredible journey watching her.
That's really special. And I'm hearing two things. One, I know you love to mentor, and we're going to talk about that and sort of empower women and help them learn new skills. And I see you enjoying that experience with your daughter as well through bringing her into the business. And it sounds like you're kind of healing these old stories that your family kind of created when they were having
Mhm.
struggles in the businesses. And by you doing it in a very loving and empowering way, it's sort of healing that wound maybe a little bit. What do you think?
Well, it's really interesting that, I haven't talked about this in a long time, and that, being on different podcasts makes you think about things. And really, what you're saying is so true, because I didn't realize at the time that I was going to prove to myself that I could have a family business and it actually works.
Right.
So, Being in a family business is not easy. I don't care what anyone tells you, that's why there's so many of them break up. But what's really, really crucial for me is we do coaching. So we don't always agree, of course not, right? But we have different philosophies, but we coach and we hear each other out. And I
Mm,
respect her and I respect what she has to say because she comes from a different generation than I do, right?
yeah.
So that's really a huge key in today's business. Like when I came in 2008, I was picking up the phone, walking to offices, going doing presentations. I wasn't hiding behind my text message and my computer.
Hmm.
Never, you
Hmm.
know. So for them, it's different, right? There was no Instagrammers, there was none of that. I was dealing with the raw celebrities, period. I was
Yeah.
dealing with individuals. It's a very different world. So it's important that she teaches me and I teach her.
But that's the key thing what you just shared is that level of respect
Mm-hmm.
and sort of awareness around the way that you described it is there's so much awareness in that and being able to recognize that
Mm-hmm.
you can have a new relationship as it continues to evolve as you do new things and as the both of you grow and as the mother-daughter relationship evolves
Right.
like it's just a really beautiful way that you're approaching that. So just thanks for sharing that. It's very inspiring.
Yeah, it's great. It's great. I love it. And then you asked me a second question, which is about mentorship. And so I wanted to let you know. So when I started staging, there was no career for women at all,
Right,
zero.
right.
In fact, my partner and I fought. She was like, "How are we going to hire people?" I'm like, "Commission only." Because I came from a cell phone background. So I came from all sales. I was like, "They'll
Mm,
do it commission only." She was like, "No way." And let me tell you, the first three people I hired, they're still special to my heart. One started a staging company and she's doing amazing. I'm so proud of her. And then
wow.
another one, went off on her own to do something else. And then the last one worked for me for 8 years. So with those three people, I realized that I could help someone start a career in staging, right?
Yeah.
And this business is not easy because you deal with so many different kinds of personalities. So not only do you need to learn to sell, you need to be organized, you need to be detailed, you need to have an eye for staging, you need to have follow up. It teaches you a lot. It's not easy. It's stressful and the girls learn a lot if they can make it. That's really the case. But I get resumes all the time of girls that have worked in other staging companies, but I take it very serious. I really make sure that they understand. You've got to come in and you've got to have a sense of spirituality in my company. I really want them to learn to meditate, to quiet their brains because there's so many things going on with them at the same time that if they don't, they won't be able to handle that, right? I
Hmm.
do a lot of contests for them. I treat this like a family so they know they can come in and out. I do tell them when they do something wrong and that is not acceptable. They don't always like that. But I'm teaching them. Everything is a teaching lesson because I had to learn the hard way. I didn't have someone mentoring me through it. I had to learn and fall and then get back up and then go climb back up. I had a lot of things in my career that was super scary and I thought I can't do this and I did it.
You did it
So
anyway. Yeah.
that's part of mentoring.
It is. And that's what's so cool about the fact that you incorporate that so staunchly in your business. Like it's such a big part of who you are every time we talk twice now, but that's just in your energy of like wanting to
Yeah,
help, wanting to pay it forward, wanting to, I mean, the fact that you're helping them launch businesses that some might say are in competition of them, right? But you're really
right.
looking at it from a collaborative standpoint.
It
And
was hard in the beginning, I will tell you. I was like, "What do you mean? I just taught them all and then
yeah.
they go off." But I have to take it as a compliment. Why? Their staging looks like mine, first of all. And second of all, they actually learned a lot from me, right? And
Yeah.
in LA, there's so much business here. It didn't happen with a lot of them, but a few of them did do that. And the ones that did it are successful. And I'm really, proud of them because they
Yeah.
came through my organization.
Yeah. And that is a moment to be proud. But I mean, thanks for pointing out the fact that it wasn't necessarily easy at first, because that's very human to see that
Hmm.
happen and be like, oh, they just walked away with everything I gave them. But to flip it and do something different with that information and turn it into an empowering moment is where the magic is. So,
Exactly. I mean, trust me, so many times I was calling Camilla going, what the hell did I do? Why is this happening? Da, da, da. But that's also time.
right.
That's also a lot of, lessons. And so after 17 years, I've got it down to a science.
Exactly. And you built that. So I want to go back a little bit and talk actually about how you got to where you are. So I'd love to know just a couple of details around, what was happening in your life before you launched this business that kind of led you to doing something that, like you just described, that women weren't doing yet.
Hmm. Okay, so I was very lucky. Things always worked out from Samantha. That was like my motto. Things always work out for Samantha. So, was I raised wealthy? Absolutely not. My father was a middle class. My mom was a waitress. For a long time, she did date Elvis Presley. May she rest in peace because she's gone now. I always pursued, it's just my personality. So everything I did, whether it was I started selling purses and jewelry. I would fly to New York, get the underground purses, set up at a party, and sell 10,000 a night with a friend of
Wow.
mine. Whatever I did it to the fullest. But I wasn't really doing it for money, which is strange. I know that's a weird thing to say. I was doing it for the social aspect. I loved it. I loved getting everyone together. I love fashion. So I was married and do I need money at that point? Yeah. But I wasn't like, oh my God, I got to make money. It was about having fun.
Mm,
And so that's where it started. And then, I was married and then I started working on every house we got. I would design it. I would, change it, change the furniture, change the walls. I would do all kinds of stuff. I never went to design school. And so we moved to the Oaks in Calabasas and I built the first modern house in the Oaks in the lower section. And it was so much fun. I loved it. And people were like, wow, I want to do that. Where can I get that? Where can I get that? And so it became like everyone knew I did modern.
mhm.
And so the next thing I knew, I got divorced. And I realized I needed to keep my kids in their lifestyle. How was I going to do this? I knew one day my alimony would run out. And so I asked this amazing guy, Jeff Byback, what am I going to do with my life? He's like, oh, it's easy. You're going to start a staging company. I'm like, what the hell's that? He's like, all you have to do is decorate homes that need to be sold. And I was like, okay, I can do that. Exactly like that, by the way.
Yeah.
And then I was like, well, how am I going to get my business? He's like, just go to all the offices and do presentations. I was like, okay, I can do that. He goes, but there's one problem. At that point, I was not a business person. I was the visual. He's like, you need a business partner to get everything started. And he was dead on. And that's when I had started with my business partner. Within 24 hours, we had the name Elite Home Staging. I had the logo, my first logo. It's not this one, my first logo. And I was already going to offices and I closed my first deal within 1 week.
That's amazing.
So, yes, it wasn't like I never live in fear. I live in what can I do?
Mm.
And that's something that I really, people that know me know. Like, pandemic is a perfect example. Everyone was shut down. My mom wouldn't even see me, but I was out helping and I did thousands of stagings
Wow.
during pandemic. But
Okay.
I know in my intuition that there's a bigger purpose for me.
How do you know when to listen to that? Because I think a lot of people struggle with what's my intuition? How do I know that this is what that is? And how do I know if I should do the thing?
It really helps you when you meditate. When you go within and you meditate, you ask the universe, should I do this? Can I do this? What are the next steps? And listen
Mhm.
and really listen. And I can't tell you how much changed me between meditation and boxing. It really helps me so much. Even to this day, sometimes I'm just like, oh. And if I get up and I do a meditation, it still hasn't worked, I go to a boxing
Mm.
and I come out of there and I know exactly what needs to happen. But it takes time. You have to create a routine, and routines are really what's important, right? The meditation routine and the boxing for me is my thing that I do.
Hmm.
Everyone has something different, but in the meditation is when you really find your answers.
Yeah, I would agree. That's a big part of my practice too. And we talk about meditation a lot here on the show. And
Yeah, that's amazing. I love that you meditate.
thank
That's
you.
why we connected.
Yeah, I saw these lovely clues in the way that you talk about things that we're going to talk about this a little bit more right now. But I was like, ooh, there's something here that we need to talk about. And I was right. You're very intuitive. You work with meditation and you bake that stuff into your staging. But before we get into that, I would love to know just how you found meditation, because I have a story of my own, and I think we all have like the way it came into our lives. I'm wondering if you can share that with us, what that was for you.
Well, that wasn't a pretty sight.
That's okay.
As my coach Camilla would be like, "Oh, brother, I think I'm an example for her when she coaches people." So it was a typical Hollywood story. I was at a Hollywood party. I was, talking to one of the Dancing with the Stars guys, and I was complaining about a boyfriend or something, and I was, didn't like the guy I was dating. I was dating at that point.
Hmm.
So the guy that I was with, I couldn't stand him either. And so he's like, let's meet out after. I can teach you to dance. I'm like, okay. We were going to meet and I was going to take a class. And then we ended up having sushi. And he was like, I have to introduce you to my friend. I was like, perfect. I love that. Right? More the merrier. So I went and I met with her. I had no idea what I was getting myself into. And I was like, oh, cool. We're going to talk, hang out. I had no idea what coaching was, meditation, nothing. So we walk in and, we're talking. And she was like, oh, yeah, I hear what's going on. And she was like, giving me some advice. And she's like, have you ever meditated? And I was like, hell no. And so she was like, we're going to just do, I want you to close your eyes. And I was like, close my eyes. No way you close your eyes. I'm not closing my eyes because I'm too hyper. And there's no way I'm closing my eyes. So, everyone that's listening, I want you to understand it takes time to learn to meditate. I did this with her for like 3 months, and then I started going to unplug and I would do it. And oh my God, that hour, I would like count in my head. I would like, okay, ask for what I wanted. And then I would have one eye open. But
Mm-hmm.
it takes time to kick in for me and for a lot of people.
Yeah,
But once it does, it's like heaven,
I would agree.
right? What happened to you?
Yeah, you're helping me remember like my story as I'm listening to yours because coaching was a part of my story too. And it was me wanting to get certified as a coach. So I was in my certification, and that's how I was introduced to guided meditation. And whenever you're getting certified, you're usually experiencing the tools that you're learning through the coaching process. And one of the tools is to create a guided meditation for your client. And she was doing this for me, and I just had this like deep sort of resonant experience with it.
That's
I got
amazing.
these visuals and it was just so moving. And I met myself in a way that I hadn't before. And
Wow.
yeah, and it was powerful. And
That's
then
incredible.
I started writing my own guided meditations because that was part of the exercise. And I fell in love with that process too. So there's actually some on my show. You can go listen to some of my guided meditation.
Oh, I would love to.
Yeah.
Yeah, people ask me all the time, like, I don't know. I can't keep my eyes shut. I don't want to do that. But people forget that you can do guided like you're doing.
Hmm.
They think they just have to close their eyes. I'm not good at that, except, maybe 3 minutes.
Yeah.
I like guided because it guides me to positivity.
Yes.
It's really interesting. And what's even more interesting? I was talking to my son yesterday, and obviously my kids are very evolved because they've had coaching for 5 years, at least 5, 6, 7 years since they were little.
Mhm.
And I mean, they have a lot more awareness than I did at that age.
Sure.
And listening to him talk to people and the awareness he has
Mhm.
at that age at 24 is like crazy to me. And it's because he's gone in and really learned to slow his brain down. And he's hyper as me.
Yeah, that's a really interesting point that you're making about a few things, but one, just this idea of being able to control our energy
Hmm.
and dropping into that awareness around, how we want to show up in different spaces. And And there's permission around all of it. You can be hyper, like there's nothing wrong with that. It's just about where
Right.
you want to be, which energy is going to serve you the best and in what room, you know?
Yeah, energy is a huge thing. I don't think that people talk enough about energy. And, I think that people don't understand. Sometimes when you walk in a room and you feel like that person's looking at you, or when you're in high school, it's not about that. It's about the energy.
Hmm.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And that's another thing I try and teach the girls. Like, you could walk into a meeting and the person has, you could tell they're not in a good mood. They're just like, want to get this done, but you don't know what happened before you met them, right? And their energy is down. So, what I tend to do is try and be up and compliment them
Mm-hmm.
and let them know how amazing they are. And you'll see all of a sudden from here to here, because as humans, we don't really compliment each other as much as we should,
Yeah, I
right?
agree. I love
You know?
empowering someone else. It's just such a fun energy exchange, like you're describing it. There's just
Yeah,
something special about it. It's why I love podcasting.
I know. That's so great you have this amazing podcast.
Thank you.
I love that for you.
Thank you. Speaking of energy, you really find ways to work with this idea of bringing in a certain energy into a room through your staging, particularly
Hmm.
like so I mentioned we talked once before, and you shared with me that you find ways to sneak in these connection moments or a suggestion of peace and calmness and maybe a meditation room, or you find these ways to like what I feel are like these sneaky suggestions for people who might enter
Yeah.
the room. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
If you guys don't know what staging is, it's basically setting the scene in a home that people can walk in and visualize them living in here. It is not design. And a lot of people get that confused.
Hmm.
So, what I've done in my company is I like to set a stage, right? So, the living room is set with a couch, two chairs, a coffee table, two ottomans, a piece of art, and a tree. So, that's just simple and staged. But when you go into the bedrooms, it used to drive me crazy when I would see bed after bed after bed. I want them to visualize a baby's room, because a lot of people when they're young they want to have kids so they could, before they when they go to look at this house, oh my god, can you imagine the baby, the cute little crib and the changing table and the pink throw and all of that.
Yeah.
And then my latest one, not latest, as of 5 years, is the meditation room. So on my website for a while, I had suggested pieces that you could buy to create a meditation area. Now, a meditation area can be anything. And what we like to do is like a big fluffy chair, maybe an ottoman to put your foot on, some kind of cabinet so you can have waters in, and a
Mm.
big Buddha, and some spiritual rocks or crystals or whatever you want. So we create different rooms so that they can visualize. And right now we're dealing with the broad mass, right?
Hmm.
So people, they don't even know yet that they're going to like that until they see that, especially if they're visual.
Yeah.
So we're selling basically a story.
You know, what would be interesting is to be able to catch up with someone who bought one of those homes. Let's say they bought one of the furniture sets in the meditation room and find out if they started meditating.
I would love that, actually.
So, speaking of, selling houses and being successful at what you do, I'd love to understand how would you define success?
That's a great question, actually.
Yeah, like social media just tells us all this bullshit, to be
Okay, I'll
honest.
tell you right now, if you would have asked me in my 30s, it would have been one answer. 40s is another, and I'm in my 50s. Don't tell anyone. Okay, so first of all, success is health. That's my number one. If I'm not healthy, then
Right.
none of it
Yeah.
matters.
Yeah.
Second is family. Of the family dynamic that I have is like so successful, and I'm so proud of that. Third is my relationship with my fiance. I was married before, and then I was divorced, but now I have a stable relationship, and that to me in my 50s is what I need now, and it's amazing to have. He has my back. He loves me. We have fun. It's just a great family because I'm all about family. And then fourth, of course, is my business. I'm very proud of my business. But it's not just about making the money, it's about what I've overcome.
Mm.
So I overcame some huge things. I had to buy out my partner during the pandemic with no money.
How'd you do that?
Can you imagine how I did that? First of all, and I paid all my employees with the government money that I got. You
Hmm.
know, we got government money, and they all had healthy salaries during that. So they didn't have to stress. That is a huge accomplishment.
It is.
My business manager said you're essential, and I got my ass out there and I sold. I sold. I had a stager, I had a manager, and I worked like I mean, like a dog. I worked like crazy. But you know what? I was happy because I knew my employees, they were scared to death. So they were getting paid,
Mm.
and I knew that I would get through it. And, I had, other things that happened in my business career, and I was like, I'll never make it through this. Money is up and down,
Yeah.
but it's how we deal with the problems and how we get through it is what makes it successful and who we taught along the way.
That's such a beautiful message. I feel that in my heart because I'm also a business owner and I have employees too. And we're in a moment where I'm making sure they're supported over me. And that's just what's happening
Oh,
right now.
exactly. And you're doing a great think of what you're doing a great thing. I don't know how many employees you have, let's say 10. You're putting food on their table. You're there supporting them. That's what people don't understand as a business owner. I mean, I've supported thousands of people even when I couldn't even pay my own bills. But you know what? You are, I don't know how you say this, an empath, or you were called to this earth to do something bigger
Mm.
than you even realize. And the more you push it, the more it goes up. For example, my coach said to me the other day, because I'm like, oh, I don't know, I'm kind of bored. I'm not growing. She goes, Samantha, you have checked off every single thing that we have on the last 10 years. And I'm like, really? You don't even realize what you do until it's on paper and what you're
Mm.
doing. So you have to be proud of yourself. You have to understand what you're doing is helping other people. That's a bigger part of this whole, having a company and money and all that. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, yeah, I'm with you and
So be proud. I'm proud of you. It's not easy.
thank
This
you.
is not easy and it's not for the weak.
I would agree.
Yeah.
It's nice to
Yeah.
hear and have that reflected back. And I'm going to take that to heart. I'm going to journal later today and do the homework that you just assigned me.
Yes. And that's why I want to go on these podcasts because I know how hard it is to go up.
Yeah,
And that's why if I can give back to anybody what all the pressure and the stress I've gone through and how I've dealt with it, that's why, I'm here. And you've got this, girl.
thank you. And so do you. And I know you've got
Thank you.
something next around the corner that you probably don't even know yet that's going to just
Yes.
light you up in new ways that you haven't experienced. And
Thank you so much.
yeah, and I'm going to stay connected to find out what that is. But
Yes.
I want the listener to resonate with what you just shared too, because if they haven't taken inventory lately, now would be a great time to check in and
Mhm.
give yourself some gratitude and give yourself a moment to really look at, because we all just went through that crazy pandemic. And a lot of us are like, I don't know what happened. I don't know what we just did and how we got through it. But maybe it's time to take some inventory and look at how you did get through it and what you did and give yourself some acknowledgement around that because I think now's a good time for everyone to kind of check in that way.
I love that. That's the best advice I heard today.
Thank you. Speaking of advice, is there anything else that you would love the listener to understand from what we just talked about today or just in general?
I mean, I think what I want to say is let's go back to fear again because 99% of the world is always in fear in one way or another. And for some reason, that fear is not part of my DNA as much as a lot of people, or when it happens to me, I really have to go inside. So always know moments are going to pass, something's going to happen, but everything will work out if you take the steps to work it out.
Mm.
Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Try not to go into fear so much. Try to go into action. When you do action, the fear will be gone, and whatever you're worried about will be taken care of.
100%. Yes. I often say that the clarity is in the decision making. And then, of course, you have to take action from that decision. But then it just starts to unfold. And you're now doing the thing that you were afraid of doing, or the solutions just start falling into place. It really does work that way. And fear is a projection into a future thing. And if we're not being present, if we're being stuck in our fear, that's another way. It's by meditation. Again, it's a great way to like step into the moment and remember that everything that's happening now is actually we're okay and we're safe. And another fun thing I've heard said before is that everything is figure outable. And I think that's a good
Mhm.
one too, to kind of
That's
fall
great.
back on.
That's great. Love it.
Yeah. Thank you for that. That's really, 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 really good advice or
Yeah,
good
no
guidance.
problem.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, how can we connect with you?
Well, you can check me out on my Instagram, Sam Senia. You can also check out my company. It's Elite Home Staging. And our podcast is The Power of We Official. And then the last thing, if you want to check out all my cool furniture, which is beautiful, you guys will love it. It's Shop Elite Maison.
Love it. We'll put all of that in the show notes, of course, so they can click and look around.
Well, this was so fun. I loved connecting with you. I love your energy. Super calm, so easy to talk to. Thank you so much for an amazing hour.
Thank you. This was so much fun. I could talk to you for a whole nother hour and probably more. So thank you for joining me. Thank you so much for listening to the Boss Goddess podcast. I hope you enjoyed this episode. And if you're inspired and ready to take action on bringing your passion to life with podcasting, then be sure to get my free Activate Your Passion with Podcasting blueprint at boss-goddess.co/activate to get started. That link is also in the show notes, but here it is again, boss-goddess.co/activate. And I'll see you on the inside.